Making headlines this hour, the Judiciary Committee of Parliament endorses the nominations of Mohammed Salim and Abdullah Hamid for appointment to the Supreme Court. Government says the Maldives' unwavering advocacy for Palestine is shaping international discourse. And government says Maldives' election win to Vice President of the UNGA shows the country's standing in the international community. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSN News in English with me, Idham Naim. The Judiciary Committee of Parliament formally endorses the nominations of Mohammed Salim, a sitting High Court judge, and Abdullah Hamid, a former High Court judge, for appointment to the Supreme Court, advancing efforts to fill two vacancies on the nation's highest judicial authority. Their confirmation follows the dismissal of Justice Dr. Azmirada Zahir and Mahaz Ali Zahir, who were removed from office due to disciplinary violations. The Parliament ratified their removal on 14th May with 68 lawmakers voting in favour. With the vacant seats requiring immediate attention, the Judicial Service Commission JSC began the selection process, opening applications on 17th May. 12 candidates submitted their credentials within the designated period. President Dr. Mohammad Muiz, acting on the JSC's recommendation, forwarded the names of judges Salim and Hamid to Parliament for review. The Judiciary Committee convened on 2nd June, opting to allow lawmakers additional time to scrutinize the nominations before reaching a decision. After careful deliberation, committee members unanimously approved both candidates, reinforcing the JSC's assessment of their suitability for appointment. The nominees must now secure final parliamentary approval before the President formalizes their appointments to the Supreme Court. According to existing legal requirements, Supreme Court Justice must be at least 30 years of age, hold a first degree in Islamic Sharia or law or both, and possess a minimum of 7 years of experience as a judge, legal practitioner, or in a combined capacity. Secretary Bilateral at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Ahmad Shian, says the Maldives' unwavering advocacy for Palestine is shaping international discourse despite its small size. He maintains that sustained engagement, even from a smaller nation, can influence global rhetoric on the Palestinian issue.
In an interview on PSM News Rajamiyadu program, Ambassador Shian addressed skepticism over the impact of small state diplomacy. While critics question whether such advocacy carries weight, he contends that continuous diplomatic pressures ensures that critical discussions remain active, preventing them from fading from the global agenda. For 18 months, the Maldives has consistently ranked among the most vocal nations on the Palestinian issue, especially the genocide in Gaza, issuing a substantial number of statements across international forums. Ambassador Shian highlighted the significance of these declarations, noting that sovereign pronouncements, irrespective of a nation's size, can command attention on the world stage. Despite its limited geopolitical influence, the Maldives sees its diplomatic efforts as contributing to subtle yet meaningful shifts in international discourse. Official statements, he argues, can shape policy discussions, prompting reassessment among leading world powers. This approach has extended to high-profile engagements, with President Dr. Mohammad Muiz addressing a United Nations conference focused on environmental challenges faced by small island developing nations, where he chose to lead his remarks by stressing the Palestinian issue. His remarks underscored the Maldives' broader commitment to raising awareness of what it describes as an ongoing genocide, reinforcing the country's determination to ensure the issue remains visible in diplomatic arenas. The government has backed its rhetoric with policy action, actively participating in 3 legal proceedings against Israel at the International Court of Justice, or ICJ, while also imposing an official ban on entry for individuals holding Israeli passports, an unprecedented move underscoring its firm stance. Ambassador Shian also pointed to rising domestic mobilization, noting that across the Maldives, media outlets, social networks, and grassroots movements have amplified discourse on Palestine. Communities across various islands have engaged in widespread advocacy efforts, ensuring that the issue remains at the forefront of national dialogue. These efforts are not going unnoticed, according to Ambassador Xian, who asserts that the Maldives' diplomatic persistence is beginning to influence the rhetoric of global leaders. He highlighted instances in which Western policymakers have started to directly call for measures against Israel, suggesting that sustained advocacy, regardless of a country's size, can contribute to substantive shifts in international policy.
Ambassador Ahmad Shian, Secretary Multilateral at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, says Maldives' election win to serve as Vice President of the United Nations General Assembly UNGA for its 80th session shows the standing and repute the country has earned in the international community.
In an interview on PSM News' Rajya Myodu program, Ambassador Xian said securing the vice presidency of the UNGA shows the high regard of the Maldives by other member countries. He also noted that vice presidents assume the responsibility of presiding over the General Assembly in the absence of the Speaker and presiding over the high-level meetings, adding that Maldives' election from the Asia-Pacific region would prove its ability to lead in the international arena. Besides the UNGA, Ambassador Xian highlighted the Maldives has been elected to various other international bodies, which further proves that the international community recognizes its efforts in various fields and trusts the Maldives to lead through its experience. The Maldives will preside over plenary meetings of the General Assembly and strengthen its leadership credentials within the UN. The ministry said it demonstrates that small island developing countries like the Maldives can play a leading role at UNGA. Additionally, Maldives has also been elected a member of UNESCO's Institute for Disaster Management in Asia-Pacific, which, according to Ambassador Xian, shows that Sri Lanka is on par with other countries in the international arena. He said these election wins also show that Maldives can perform in the international arena in the light of its resources, information, and experience. At the election held on the 2nd of June in New York, the Maldives, along with Bangladesh, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Timor-Leste, were elected for 5 seats available to the Asia-Pacific group for the session. This election is especially significant for the Maldives as it coincides with the anniversary of 60 years of Maldives' membership to the United Nations, which will be celebrated on the 21st of September 2025. Following the Maldives' successful election, President Dr. Muiz expressed his gratitude and optimism in a post on his official X account, stating that the Maldives looks forward to working closely with international partners to ensure the success of the forthcoming General Assembly. The president reaffirmed the Maldives' strong commitment to strengthening the multilateral system, particularly as the country celebrates 60 years of membership in the United Nations.
Maldives and China signed an agreement to initiate the detailed design phase of the Vilimale China-Maldives Friendship Hospital project. The letter of exchange was signed at an official ceremony held at Dharmawanta Hospital by the Minister of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure, Dr. Abdullah Muttalib, and the Ambassador of China to the Maldives, Kong Jinhua. The Minister of Health, Abdullah Nazim Ibrahim, also attended the ceremony along with senior government officials and representatives from the Chinese embassy in Male. The Ministry of Construction, Housing and Infrastructure said the feasibility study for the 112 bed capacity hospital has been completed, and the letter of exchange signing marks the official commencement of the project's detailed design phase. Speaking at the ceremony, Minister Dr. Muttalib said the detailed design work of the hospital will commence very soon in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Construction, the Indira Gandhi Memorial Hospital IGMH, and a special Chinese team of experts. The minister said the development of a hospital in Vilimale would further expand health services in the Male area and would add the facilities available to the people in the capital region. The existing hospital in Vilimale does not have the facilities to provide services to its 15,000 resident population. The hospital has 3 rooms for patients and 5 beds are currently used in the emergency room, forcing residents to take the ferry over to IGMH or Dharmawanta Hospital. The hospital, which will be developed with the assistance of the Chinese government, has been divided across 2 buildings. There will also be special beds for outpatient, inpatient, emergency diagnostic, ICU and hemodialysis treatment. The Maldives Monetary Authority (MMA) data shows that the Maldives has recorded a historic surge in state revenue, with total revenue and grants reaching 2.58 billion US dollars in the first 4 months of 2025. This marks the highest fiscal intake for the corresponding period in 6 years, underscoring the nation's strong economic momentum and resilience.
Figures from the central bank indicate a 16.5% year-on-year increase, up from 2.21 billion US dollars during the same period in 2024. The rise has been driven by substantial gains across all major revenue streams, with tax collections leading the expansion while non-tax income and grants contributed significantly. Tax revenue reached 1.90 billion US dollars, reflecting a 13.8% increase compared to the previous year. The tourism sector played a central role in this growth, as surging visitor numbers bolstered fiscal inflows. Tourism Goods and Services Tax, or TGST, which generated 642.34 million US dollars, accounted for the largest share of revenue, reaffirming the sector's status as a cornerstone of the economy. Trade-related taxation was another major contributor, with import duty bringing in 298.5 million US dollars, while Goods and Services Tax, or GST, an indicator of domestic consumption, totaled $350.39 million. Other revenue sources demonstrated strong performance, as Business Profit Tax, or BPT, accounted for 259.42 million US dollars, reflecting corporate sector growth and profitability. Green Tax, an environment levy, generated 129.71 million US dollars, reinforcing the government's sustainability efforts. Airport Service Charge contributed 123.22 million US dollars, highlighting the role of travel-related taxation in state income. Bank Profit Tax reached 47.48 million US dollars, while income tax stood at 26.27 million, reflecting individual contributions to public finances. Alongside tax revenues, non-tax income continued its upward trajectory, totaling 512.32 million US dollars in the first 4 months of 2024, a 19.8% increase from 428.38 million US dollars during the same period last year. Grants saw the most pronounced growth, increasing by 77.1% to $168.66 million. Revenue trends over the past 6 years reflect the country's shifting fiscal landscape, as total revenue and grants stood at 1.51 billion US dollars in 2019, followed by a decline to 0.99 billion dollars in 2020 amid global economic disruptions. The recovery began in 2021, with revenue reaching 1.38 billion dollars. Growth continued in 2022 when fiscal inflows rose to 1.88 billion, followed by further expansion in 2023 to 2.21 billion US dollars.
The Maldives Monetary Authority (MMA) reports that the Maldives has recorded a sharp increase in international air traffic and tourist arrivals in the early months of the year. The central bank reports that scheduled international flights rose by 6.4% in the first 4 months of 2025, underscoring growing global demand for travel to the island nation.
The Maldives Airports Company Limited, or MACL, reported a substantial rise in profits, reaching 64.86 million US dollars, reflecting the broader impact of increased visitor numbers on the country's aviation sector. With air travel rebounding, the Maldives welcomed 5,809 scheduled international flights between January and April, up from 5,378 recorded during the same period last year, according to the MMA. More than 800,000 tourists visited the country in the first 4 months of 2025, significantly exceeding the 700,000 recorded in the corresponding period last year. Despite the surge in scheduled flights, the MMA report shows that non-commercial aviation saw a modest decline. A total of 505 general flights arrived in the country during this period, compared to 604 the previous year. Nevertheless, growth in tourism infrastructure continued according to the central bank report, with operational bed capacity increasing to 61,919, a 0.8% expansion over last year's figures. The steady rise in visitor numbers has directly influenced the financial performance of MACL, which manages operations at Vilana International Airport, or VIA, the country's main aviation hub. The company's latest audit report indicates a profit of $64.86 million in 2024, reflecting an 18% increase from the prior year. The additional earnings of approximately $12.46 million highlight the sustained recovery of the sector and its broader contribution to the national economy.
The Maldives is advancing its national weather monitoring capabilities with the establishment of a sixth meteorological observatory in Maafaru, Nunu Atoll, part of the four-year effort to modernize infrastructure and strengthen early warning systems. Meteorological officials says the Maafaru facility will play a critical role in improving weather data collection across the northern region. The country's existing observatories are situated in Hulule in Kaf Atoll, Hanimadu in Hadal Atoll, Kaddu in Lam Atoll, Kardeddu in Gafdal Atoll, and Gang in Addu City. The network also includes automated weather stations spread across 20 islands and tidal monitoring sites that track environmental patterns. The initiative, developed through international collaboration, focuses on modernizing meteorological equipment nationwide, according to the Maldives Meteorological Services. A key priority is the recommissioning of the radio sound system in Gang, essential for an upper air weather observations. The program, the Met Office said, also includes procurement of specialized monitoring instruments and comprehensive training for technical personnel. Efforts are being coordinated by the United Nations Multi-Party Trust Fund, the World Meteorological Organization, and the Met Office, reflecting a broader commitment to advancing climate resilience in the region. Met Office officials expect the expanded network to enhance forecasting accuracy while improving the Maldives' contributions to global meteorological data. The upgrades the Met Office elaborated are designed to refine early warning capabilities, providing essential information for disaster preparedness and long-term climate adaptation efforts. As part of the rollout, the Met Office recently convened a working meeting with representatives from the United Nations Environment Programme, the Finnish Meteorological Institute, and the Regional Multi-Hazard Early Warning System for Asia and Africa. More than 40 specialists attended, discussing implementation strategies, operational frameworks, and technological advancements necessary for the project's success. During the meeting, officials established a project steering committee to oversee the implementation of the four-year initiative. The Maldives Transport and Contracting Company Limited (MTCC's) 2024 annual report show that the state-owned firm had spent around $713,359 on corporate social responsibility (CSR) initiatives last year.
Throughout last year, MTCC had responded to a wide range of community and institutional needs, delivering support through transport services, infrastructure-related assistance, sponsorships, and public sector collaborations. A total of around $713,359 was dispersed across 5 thematic areas, including environmental and infrastructure support, social and community contributions, public sector support, educational and youth support, and other approved CSR projects. Among the most significant contributions during the year was the Jamhuri Fountain Repair Project, undertaken at the request of the Ministry of Cities, Local Government and Public Works, the highest value CSR initiative of the year, amounting to around $450,000. MTCC also supported Transport Day 2024, coordinated by the Ministry of Transport, and provided speedboat services for the Maldives Police Service, facilitating inter-island travel for official duties. In the education sector, schools across the country, including in Addu City, Lama Atoll, and Greater Male, received support for student excursions and event participation through the provision of transport services by bus and ferry. In total, $110,000 worth of transport services were delivered through CSR in 2024. In addition to these, several waste management and site cleaning efforts were carried out by MTCC in collaboration with island councils. Numerous other requests were accommodated under the CSR framework based on social value, timeliness, and community relevance.
US stock indexes closes higher, helped by gains in Nvidia and other chipmakers as investors awaited possible negotiations between the United States and its trading partners for more clarity on Washington's tariff plan.
President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping are set to speak this week, the White House said on Monday, days after Trump accused China of violating a Geneva agreement to roll back tariffs and trade restrictions. Beijing said it would safeguard its interest and that the accusation was groundless. According to a draft letter to negotiating partners seen by Reuters, the Trump administration wants countries to provide their best offer on trade negotiations by the 4th of June, as officials seek to accelerate talks with multiple partners ahead of a self-imposed deadline in just 5 weeks.
Today, you've got kind of a mismatch of economic data. I think the big one for investors is going to be a pretty solid JOLTS jobs report. There's a lot of anxiety about where the labor market stands today. We get some good data, some data that shows some cracks. And ultimately, if you're going to build the bull case for the economy, you have to bring the labor market and the consumer along. So I think getting that pop in job openings and seeing a little bit of resilience from the labor market is helping things today. And then you have continued momentum from big tech and AI adjacent names. So that obviously is helping given the concentration there.
In May, a softening of Trump's harsh trade stance allowed a recovery in risky assets, with the benchmark S&P 500 and the tech-savvy Nasdaq posting their biggest monthly percentage gain since November 2023. The S&P 500 gained 34.43 points or 0.58% to end at 5,970.37 points, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 156.34 points or 0.81% to 19,398.96. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 214.16 points or 0.51% to 42,519.64.
Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah said on Wednesday, Tehran will not abandon its uranium enrichment, rejecting a key U.S. demand aimed at resolving a decades-long nuclear dispute that he said was against the Islamic Republic's interests.
The U.S. proposal for a new nuclear deal was presented to Iran on Saturday, May 31st by Oman, which has mediated talks between Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and President Donald Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff. After 5 rounds of talks, several hard-to-bridge issues remain, including Iran's insistence on maintaining uranium enrichment on its soil and Tehran's refusal to ship abroad its entire existing stockpile of highly enriched uranium, possibly raw materials for nuclear bombs. Tehran says it wants to master nuclear technology for peaceful purposes and has long denied accusations by Western powers that it is seeking to develop nuclear weapons. On June 2nd, Reuters report Tehran was poised to reject the U.S. proposal on the grounds that it was a non-starter that failed to soften Washington's stance on uranium enrichment or to address Tehran's interests. Trump has revived his maximum pressure campaign against Tehran since his return to the White House in January, which included tightening sanctions and threatening to bomb Iran if the negotiations yield no deal. During his first term in 2018, Trump ditched Tehran's 2015 nuclear pact with 6 powers and reimposed sanctions that have crippled Iran's economy. Iran responded by escalating enrichment far beyond the pact's limits. Iran's arch for Israel, which sees Iran's nuclear program as an existential threat, has repeatedly threatened to bomb the Islamic Republic's nuclear facilities to prevent Tehran from acquiring nuclear weapons.
That concludes news for now. Thank you for watching PSM News. Have a good day.
عرفات دروغ خاصة كفريج